Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we're actually talking about artificial intelligence in healthcare because AI used in healthcare nationwide has some serious biases, and this is just coming to light, and I found this absolutely interesting. This is coming from a publication called STAT, which I think has some really cool things. And here's what's going on. The algorithms that are carrying out an array of crucial tasks like helping emergency rooms triage patients, predicting who will develop diabetes, and flagging patients who need more help to manage their medical conditions, basically is what we're talking about here. But instead of making healthcare delivery more objective and precise, a new report has found that these algorithms, some of which have been in use for many years, are often making it more biased along racial and economic lines. Now, researchers at the University of Chicago found that pervasive algorithmic bias is infecting countless daily decisions about how patients are treated by hospitals, insurers, and other businesses. The report points to a gaping hole in oversight to seep into care with basically little or no vetting, and in some cases perpetuating inequitable treatment for more than a decade before being discovered. Now, the researchers found that bias is common in both traditional clinical calculators and also checklists, as well as more complex algorithms that use statistics and artificial intelligence to make predictions or automate certain tasks. Some of the flawed products guide millions of transactions daily, such as the Emergency Severity Index, which is used to assess patients in most of the nation's emergency rooms and emergency departments. The report flags bias in algorithms to determine the severity of things like knee osteoarthritis, measure mobility, predict the onset of illness such as diabetes, kidney disease, and heart failure, and identify which patients will fail to show up for appointments or may benefit from additional outreach to manage their conditions. The researchers found that the Emergency Services Index, which groups patients based on the urgency of their medical needs, performs poorly in assessing African American patients, and that is a conclusion that mirrors findings in prior research as well. The research to basically identify bias based in the Center for Applied Artificial Intelligence at the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business, which is one of the best business schools in the country, was established after initial study uncovered racial bias in a widely used algorithm developed by the health services giant Optum to identify patients most in need for extra help with their health problems. They found that the algorithm, which used cost predictions to measure health need, was routinely giving preference to white patients over people of color who had more severe problems. Isn't that interesting? They had more severe problems. Now, of the patients it targeted for stepped up care, only 18% were black compared to 82% that were white. When revised to predict the risk illness instead of cost, the percent of black patients flagged by the algorithm more than doubled. Now, it's important to note for the record that the researchers' review was not exhaustive. It was limited by the willingness of healthcare organizations to expose their algorithms to an audit, but the variety and magnitude of problems they discovered is indicative of a systemic problem. And as mentioned before, there has been past research into this that essentially coincides with this as well. Now, the report is a culmination of more than 3 years of research and sets forth a playbook for addressing these biases, calling on healthcare organizations to take an inventory of their algorithms, screen them for bias, and either adjust or abandon them altogether if the flaws cannot be fixed. And this is interesting because this actually dovetails with the third TED Talk that I did on essentially artificial intelligence helping to defeat prejudice. But the first thing that we have to do is overcome this inherent bias. Studies out of MIT that I talked about in that talk basically show that we have a severe issue here. And it's not because the developers of this, are racist or against poor people or rich people or whatever it is. It simply crops in because as you're developing this, you have your own worldview, you have your own economic status, you have your own culture and race and everything else. And that just inherently comes along with you as you make decisions in your everyday life. You are informed by your experiences as well as everything else. So as this evidence kind of comes in, I think it does make sense to go ahead and look at people, not necessarily, by race or whatever that is, but to figure out a way that simply says, I've got patient A and patient B, and both of them have the same problem. And so both of them should get the same kind of treatment and not factor in anything else unless it directly relates to, let's say, their health for either benefit or detriment. And again, I'm not a doctor, don't play one on TV or the internet, but I think this is really interesting. And I think it's something that really needs to be addressed to make sure that, we're just fair to everybody. And I think that's just the right thing to do. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, everyone.